And one really important thing I forgot to cover, I should probably throw this more towards the beginning. We already talked about how to make a hotkey. It's basically going in here, and what's one I want to convert? I'm going to do inflate brush right here. I'm going to hold down Control Alt and tap that. I'm going to make that Alt I, and that'll just bring up. So it says custom hotkey is assigned successfully. So now I can go standard brush, move brush, inflate brush, just using hotkeys. You can also put stuff down here, and you can also dock stuff anywhere around your interface here. So if I go up here to preferences, you're going to see config. You're going to see an enable customize. Whenever I tap that button, it's going to kind of shrink your page, and that's going to tell you you're able to customize stuff. Now, if you're familiar with Big Brother ZBrush, it's not nearly as customizable as that, but there are some really cool stuff you can do. So let's go ahead and close all these down. So over here, I usually have my brush. And if this brush area is getting a little too populated, these are just recently used brushes. You can hit that R key, and that'll kind of shrink that menu down. And then we can, if you don't want to see that, you can close that up. But if we're going to be configuring our space here, let's go again to preferences, grab this dot and just pull it over here. And again, we're going to enable customize or disable customize. So we're going to enable customize. And with this active, what we can do is, again, you're going to hold down Control Alt, and now you're going to be able to drag stuff around. So let's say, I don't even know, let's dig down here a little bit. I do a lot of Dynameshing, so I'm going to go to geometry, and if I play a lot with Dynamesh stuff, I can pull this Dynamesh interface out and put it somewhere else in my interface. So if I hold down Control Alt and drag, I can throw Dynamesh right here. So there's my Dynamesh button. Resolution I do a lot. Let's see if that'll fit over here. Yeah, it's going to fit over here, but it's also going to push that out a little bit. If I don't want that, I can hold down Control Alt and drag that into my document, and it'll delete it for me. Same thing with Dynamesh, Control Alt drag. Same thing with any of this stuff down here. If I Control Alt, if I just hit W for transpose, I don't need a transpose button. In you go. Don't need you anymore. Control Shift, don't need these guys anymore. I'm going to clear this space up. And let's say I got some brushes in here I use a lot. So if I've used them recently, they'll show up here. If I haven't used them, like Rake, I'm going to tap Rake. And I don't want to drag this big icon down there, because if I drag the big icon down here, number one, it's going to take up a lot of space. Number two, if I click it, it just takes me to my brush menu. It's not what I want. What I want is the rake brush. So because I selected the rake brush, it put it down here in my recently used. So again, if I go to clay brush here, my rake brush is just sitting here. I'm going to take this small icon and just throw that rake brush right there. Now if I turn off enable customize, ZBrush is going to snap back to its normal, and now I have rake sitting there. So anything in your menus you want to put over there, if you're doing a lot of lighting, throw your lights over here, and it's like, I'm always changing my light color. Just grab that light tab here. Maybe won't let you. Some of the things you won't be able to grab. That's a bad example. Let's do alpha. So one thing I forgot to mention in the alpha is you can do flip horizontal and flip vertical in your alphas, or rotate them. So if I have an arrow selected, I can rotate that around. I can flip it vertically, flip it horizontally. All sorts of cool stuff. If I use these all the time, or use these alphas all the time, I can just maybe take a, oh, that's not gonna let me either. Let me take a step back and really think about what I use all the time. So my custom menu here, I will say, one thing we didn't go over is clay polish. So if I, you know what, let's go ahead and just do comma key, core camera. We got matcap gray selected. I'm gonna go back to my subtools here, hold on shift, turn off all my polypaint here, and we'll go to matcap gray. There we go. So if I go back up to this Apple core here, and we'll go out of solo mode. If we go to clay polish here, if we tap that, it's going to kind of polish, and you can play with some of these values here if you want to, like, we can undo that. We can like crank sharp up, and that'll keep sharp edges here, and we can control click to unmask, and that'll kind of just do a nice clay polish, kind of gives it a Warcraft look. If you do that all the time, let's go ahead and go back to enable customize, Control Alt, we'll grab clay polish and throw it down here. If you need some clay polish options, we'll go, you know what, I always need sharpness available to me and softness always available to me. Just drag them right down here. If there's a lot of materials you like to use, let's see if we can drag some of those down. We'll grab our material, and just like our brushes, if you don't see the material in here, I hit that R to kind of clear this out. Didn't delete any, it just kept recently used ones over here. It's like, you know what, I always wanted to grab my Skin Shader 4. So I'm going to use Skin Shader 4, I'm going to select it, and now it's in here. My recently used, I can Control Alt drag and just drag that over here. Skin Shader 4 I use a lot, Matcap Red Wax I use a lot, Matcap Gray I use a lot, just stack them right in there. So anywhere you want to stack things in your interface, feel free. Turn off Enable Customize when you're done. Go to Config, Store Config when you're done. I'm not going to store config because I don't want to store any of the stuff I've done, but make sure you store config. That'll save it, so every time you start up ZBrush, your customized UI will be ready to go.